Welcome to Medica Cardio Talk episode 8. There are a lot of fiascos about cholesterol and heart disease. People think that if they take omega 3 fatty acid, they will never get heart attack. But omega 3 fatty acid has a lot of concern of its own. Today, I have Dr. Dilip Kumar, my colleague from the Department of Cardiology, who is going to educate us on the concerns of omega 3 fatty acid for cardiovascular diseases. Dr. Dilip Kumar.
Thank you, sir. Omega-3 fatty acids, the global market value of this product was around $4.1 billion in 2019. And in 2025, it's expected to be around $8 billion. So there has been faith and enthusiasm regarding this product, but it has got some concerns. And top of that concern is risk of atrial fibrillation. There are 4 trials which have raised the concerns. The first 2 trials, like Strength and Reduce It trial, they used 4 grams of omega-3 fatty acids, and Strength trial showed no significant benefit in terms of cardiovascular outcome, but they showed significantly higher incidence of atrial fibrillation. There was some difference in Reduce It trial. The drug used was not EPA and DHA, which was used in the trials. This was a purified version, what is called IPA, icosapentaethyl, and the comparator was not the usual corn oil, it was the mineral oil. So there was some controversy, but it showed a massive, significant difference in cardiovascular outcome. There was a significant reduction.
Right.
At the same time, this trial also showed significantly higher incidence of atrial fibrillation. The third trial, which came, Omni trial, this trial used around 1.8 grams of EHA and DHA, and it also didn't show any benefit in cardiovascular outcome, but there was again a kind of double the risk of atrial fibrillation.
So as we know that atrial fibrillation is of great concern for patients taking omega-3 fatty acid, assuming that they will not get heart attack.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Yeah, there's a final trial which has come up now, Vital Rhythm trial, and they again have re-emphasized that they use 0.8 grams of omega-3 fatty acid, which is very lesser dose, and there is no significant increase in AF incidence, but we can't make a clear-cut impression from this particular trial. So in a nutshell, if we use high doses of omega-3 fatty acids, it's definitely increasing the atrial fibrillation.
And atrial fibrillation has its own problem. If you could just tell our viewers about the problem coming out of atrial fibrillation.
So atrial fibrillation, we all know this is one of the commonest arrhythmias, and it's a very lethal kind of arrhythmia. It not only increases the mortality, but also increases the morbidity by the heart failure, by increasing the incidence of stroke. So atrial fibrillation is something which we have not yet been able to properly treat, and this is something which we have to work on.
So obviously we need to be really cautious and careful about taking omega-3 fatty acid. Do not think that you need to be protected from heart attack. Yes, you need, but at the same time, atrial fibrillation could be disastrous for your life, causing stroke, causing heart failure, and causing number of other problems. So from omega-3 fatty acid, we are moving now to another drug called rilonacept, which actually we discussed earlier in our Medica Cardio Talks. And now rilonacept has been found to be approved by FDA for use in recurrent pericarditis. So Dr. Soumya Patra will educate us on the current concept of rilonacept, interleukin-1 inhibitor for treatment of recurrent pericarditis. Dr. Soumya Patra.
Thank you, sir. After the recent publication of Rhapsody trial, this rilonacept came into the market and it got US FDA approval for treatment of recurrent pericarditis. Though we are not seeing frequent cases of recurrent pericarditis nowadays, and previously the incidence was more because of the late treatment of myocardial infarction and all, and Dressler syndrome. This is also due to the myocardial infarction, but nowadays we are treating very early and treating the recent management so that the incidence of pericarditis is coming down. But those patients who have recurrent pericarditis may be due to the viral infection or the other reasons, autoimmune disorder, so that this interleukin-1 inhibitor rilonacept has a very good role in this type of patient to reduce the symptoms of recurrent pericardial pain and all. So this is a very good drug and we can use in our patient if it is available in India. So
Correct. So as we know that recurrent pericarditis is a real problem. Any thought about rilonacept and its use in recurrent pericarditis to prevent constitutive pericarditis and other complications of pericarditis,
Correct.
even
I
atrial
think,
fibrillation?
yeah, it is not a very common problem, but once it happens and a person is having recurrent pericarditis, recurrent pericardial effusion, it was really a difficult task for all the physicians. So if we have a molecule which is going to act on this, reducing the symptoms of the patient, it is always it will be appreciated, I think. But I think it will take a long way.
Agreed.
FDA has just approved it, and more trials and registry data will get us.
Perfect. But at the same time, the recurrent pericarditis is an autoimmune process. There's a kind of a autoimmune mediated inflammation, and interleukin 1 or interleukin, they got a profound role in this pathogenesis of recurrent pericarditis. So clearly, interleukin inhibitors or interleukin 1 inhibitors like rilonacept would be of great help if it being practiced in the patients of recurrent pericarditis. So from rilonacept, now we are moving on to a very common talk of the day today about COVID vaccination and the drug to be, particularly the anticoagulant drug, whether to be continued or to be stopped, like aspirin, clopidogrel, ticagrelor. And a lot of patients, they ask cardiologists that whether they should discontinue the drug before vaccination. We are not quite clear because there is no such guideline. So let us talk amongst ourselves with my colleagues and share our views with our viewers that what would be our advice to our patients who are on aspirin and clopidogrel or ticagrelor and who would like to have vaccination because of COVID infection. So what are your thoughts, Dr. Dilip Kumar, that ecospirin and clopidogrel, do you think they should be discontinued?
Sir, I think this is one of the most common calls we are getting nowadays, that whether we have to stop aspirin or clopidogrel before the vaccination. So I have not found any guideline as such, but definitely someone who is taking Covishield have shown high chances of bleeding, and this is something till 31st March, the 20 million doses of Covishield have been given, and out of these 20 million doses, there were 679 bleeding episodes and 19 deaths.
19 deaths
Reported. So I think definitely there is a concern, but considering the more than 45 years of age patients who have, if they acquire COVID, it's going to be very catastrophic for them. So weighing the risk and benefit, we may call it beneficial. And in these particular patients, if there is a bleeding risk, whether we should stop aspirin, clopidogrel or NOAC sometimes, I'm not clear about that, but there is no guideline. So we can't recommend.
Right. What would you advise to your patient, Dr. Patro? Patients on aspirin, clopidogrel, and they would like to have vaccination. I'm sure that they come to you and can take your advice or suggestion. What do you recommend? What do you advise?
Yes, daily we are getting phone calls for whether our patient, those who have angioplasty done or pacemaker done, to receive this vaccine. And all. My advice on this regards that though there is some bleeding risk, but till now about daily one patient is dying due to thrombotic episodes after getting vaccination. Mostly those patients having uncontrolled hypertension, uncontrolled diabetes, or the patient is having ischemic heart disease undiagnosed, and mostly these subjects are healthy individuals receiving vaccine, and daily at least one person is dying due to post vaccination symptom. So my opinion on this regards that to continue the antiplatelets drug like ecospirin, clopidogrel, ticagrelor should be continued during vaccination, and the patient who are on NOAC also, they can continue, but they need 5 minutes of pressing at the vaccination site. But the patient who are on oral anticoagulant, means like acetrom or the warfarin, these patients, if the INR is more than 3, this should be less than 3 before getting the vaccination, but it should not be stopped.
Agreed. But I think there is also a concept of immune-mediated platelet injury by vaccine, particularly Covishield. So any information on that, Dr. Dilip?
Yeah, I think there was no clear-cut mechanism how the platelet is coming down and why the bleeding risk is there. There are some incidences like Covishield we have seen. So the only plausible mechanism they have come forward with is a kind of HIT, we say heparin-induced thrombocytopenia.
Right.
So this is immune-mediated damage to platelets, and it goes down and the bleeding happens. But none of these have been probably seen in Covaxins. So other.
So do you think the Covaxin may be a little better in this group of, or in
Definitely.
general?
Someone has a bleeding tendency, bleeding history, then maybe Covaxin can be preferred in these patients.
So I mean, still we are in doubt. We are not quite clear. I'm sure that my colleagues have already shared that there is no guideline as yet whether to discontinue icosapent, whether to discontinue clopidogrel or ticagrelor or for patients with cardiovascular disease, particularly those who had a bypass surgery or had angioplasty. So therefore, I think as of now, you may continue, but if you think that there may be a risk, you can discuss with your cardiologist, and depending upon your case scenario, I'm sure your cardiologist will advise as of now what would be the right thing. Although I have to say that cardiologists also do not have a clear guideline that which one to be discontinued or which one to be continued before vaccination or after vaccination. But having said all this, please remember that vaccination is important. Whatever is available, if it is Covishield or Covaxin, please vaccinate yourself, your relations, your friends, because COVID-19 is a disastrous infection. So you need to save. You need to save yourself. You need to keep your family in a safe environment. Particularly during the second surge of COVID, it is of paramount importance to vaccinate everybody. But regarding the discontinuation of blood thinning drug, discuss with your doctor, talk to them, and try to find out what would be the best option in your case. Thank you very much to be with us, and I'm sure that you will have a wonderful day and wonderful time. And please continue to watch Medica Cardio Talks. I'm sure that we would like to have your views, your opinion on our presentation. Thank you very much.